I was going to do a video on this, and then I changed my mind and just made a community post. But now I can't stop thinking about this, so here we are. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Now, there was a New York Post article that came out yesterday. Most of you guys have already seen it, probably read it, probably heard other creators talking about it. I actually went in at around, 4:35 p.m.-ish, I guess, and went to go do a video on this. And then I changed my mind because it's basically a preview of what's going to be coming out on Saturday. Because 48 Hours has this documentary coming out on the Idaho case on Saturday. Of course, because of the timing, it's being geared to people like it's, now new information. And I know that Harsh and a couple other creators mentioned this a few days ago whenever this entire thing, got posted about it coming out on Saturday, that this was not new information. This is old information. Now, with that being said, I know that a lot of people are focusing on the little fragment that I posted in the community tab yesterday about the way that the Consalvases sort of laid out the way that the girls would have been in the bed. In this, it's basically making it seem as if the person would have come in, started attacking Maddie, and Maddie would have been laying on the outside of the bed. Kaylee would have been on the inside of the bed between Maddie and the wall, making her trapped. The big issues I have with this now goes back to all of the big issues we've already had here, guys. 8 hours for why? How did you not hear anything? How are you going to sit here and act like all you did was hear her playing, Kaylee playing with her dog upstairs, and then you see this guy with bushy old eyebrows walking past your door for like half a microsecond, and that's all? If this statement is true, and I have no reason whatsoever to doubt stuff like this, stuff with structure, stuff that can be proven in court with crime scene photos and will be proven in court with crime scene photos, stuff like this, there's no reason to think anything else. Stuff like this, you need to just take it as it is because it's going to be shown to you, or at least shown to the court, that this is how the bodies were found. So with this being said, how can you explain, Dylan, and even Bethany, okay, maybe not Bethany so much, but if we have, this little tidbit of information from Maddie and Kaylee, and then we also know that we're hearing that Xana's, fingers were pretty much gone, almost gone, from what people are considering, her fighting back. And then we have, Ethan's body, apparently, according to, again, what the families are being told by the people that were there, with Ethan's body up against a door, and that door having to be, they had to get help to open said door. That would mean that there was movement after the suspect would have left. The person who did whatever happened to Xana and Ethan would have had to have physically left the room in order for that door to have been shut. And maybe the shut door situation is why the whole take someone else out while you take your own self out situation. I hate the way that YouTube makes me have to talk just to make sure that this story actually gets out there and this video gets out there. I have to talk in code, and it's just so ridiculous. It's just so gross. But you guys know what I mean. That was one of the initial things that it could have possibly been. And then we went to crime of passion, and then, now we have where we are. So the whole closed door thing might have been a reason for that. It would make you think that maybe one of the people that was behind one of those closed doors is the ones who did something, and that's why the door was shut. But that's not how it's coming out to be. It's coming out to be that somebody else definitely did do this. The who and the how and the why are what's on the table here. Even with Brian in court, it's still on the table here. So if we're going to sit here and know that Xana had wounds showing that noises had to have been made while getting those wounds. There's a possibility that if Ethan really was sort of alive, still had, enough life in him to move towards a door after that door had been shut by the person who did that, there could have been noises and sounds and words and screaming and help me's and hey, can you hear me's? And now we have Maddie basically being attacked while Kaylee is laying right next to Maddie while Maddie's being attacked, but Kaylee can't get up out the bed because she's trapped between a wall and the suspect and her best friend getting taken out. That's really hard to think about. I mean, this whole case has been really hard to think about, but, for the most part, it's just our imagination trying to piece things together. I've read this since yesterday, but as I'm speaking this out loud and I'm not looking at a screen and I'm not reading text and I'm just looking around my office and I'm thinking as I'm speaking, it's really difficult. It's a really difficult thing to think about. Especially knowing that there's no way that Kaylee would have been silent in any of that. That Murphy would have been silent during any of that. But it also, again, how could Xana and or Ethan also have not heard this attack and not have attempted to try to call 911 before they ended up being the target? Because we have all this going on. And now obviously we have a trapped person next to a person being attacked who's going to not be quiet while they're witnessing what's happening, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out how to get out of there, but then are being attacked themselves. That is not a quiet situation. No one is going to tell me otherwise. And anyone who tries to, I just don't have time for that. I don't. And I'm not. There's no one that's going to tell me that she just laid there and didn't make a noise. There's only one way that could happen. And it would have to be proven through a toxicology report. But with the type of wounds that we're hearing from the family when it comes to the way that Kaylee's were different than Maddie's, it sure seems as if she wouldn't have been knocked out or drugged or something where she was still and not moving around in order to get the type of more aggressive wounds we're hearing were on Kaylee from the family. And I don't know a single person who could get their fingers almost clean cut off and can't, doesn't scream. So there's that too. There's a lot of questions here. And that right there, that whole scenario of things going on upstairs for 2-3 minutes and then something happening downstairs for the remainder of the time before the person leaves. Those couple of minutes of all of that going on upstairs, even if it was only for 30 seconds, guys, okay, that is not a quiet situation. We have a DoorDash order being dropped off. We have Xana being on TikTok at 4:12. We have Dylan hearing things and opening the door and, blah, 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 whatever. How does no one hear that enough to call 911? How does no one attempt to call 911, Xana and Ethan included? That is why this is difficult for me to believe that this is a one-person situation. I don't see all 4 people in this house hearing things and all 4 people collectively deciding not to call 911. And then 2 of those 4 people who collectively decided to not call 911 also then get taken out. So if anything, this just gives me more questions. We haven't been told anything about toxicology, anything about stomach contents. Was it proven that Xana even ate the food that she received? Was it proven that she's the one who opened the door or that Ethan opened the door? Did somebody open that damn door and take in the DoorDash order? Were they poisoned before they were attacked? Were they drugged before they were attacked? Were they injected with something before they were attacked? How is there no trail in between the 2 crime scenes that would have alerted Dylan Bethany and Hunter Johnson, if that whole story is true, that there's something going on upstairs? And I still can't wrap my head around how Dylan and Bethany would have rather called an outside source to come and open Xana's door than go upstairs and get the help of the 2 full grown ass women that were upstairs in that bedroom unless they already knew that they were gone. But how would they have known that they were, Maddie and Kaylee were no longer alive, but they run over to Hunter Johnson and the only thing that they hear about is Xana's door. Not, oh my God, we ran upstairs and saw what happened to Maddie and Kaylee, and then we tried to get into Xana's door to see if they were okay and let them know what was going on, but we couldn't get the door open, and that's when we freaked out. Okay, but you still didn't call 911. If that would be the scenario, you still didn't call 911. And that's only a scenario if you want to look at me like I'm some sort of stupid ass idiot who doesn't understand there's no way that this was a silent event. I don't care what kind of drugs someone might be on. If they are coherent and capable enough to get up and out of their bed physically multiple times, walk across the room, open the door, make an opinion about what they're hearing and seeing, walk back across the room, physically get back in their bed, attempt to fall back asleep, and then repeat, you're cognitive enough to know the noises that you're hearing are exactly what the hell they are, not what you want them to be, and act accordingly. All this article did was make me more upset, which is fine. That's completely fine. That just makes this even more important, that we get every answer that we can. Because while yes, the unalivings and them being taken away is the most important thing here, that 8-hour gap might be even more vital. And it leads me back to the reasons why all the issues with Bethany, all the issues with Dylan, and not even issues with Dylan, honestly, you guys. I want you all to think about that too. We only know what is in the PCA that the cops are allowing us to know. Now, I've been told two separate things from someone who has spoken directly to the families. It is a YouTuber, and I'm not going to say who, and I'm not going to say what. I'm just not. This person knows who they are, and they haven't said this on their channel yet. And until they do, I'm not going to say this myself. I will say about the situation that there are 2 different incidents. One at the house while the police are there talking to people about what's going on, and once at one of the memorials. And these two things are very interesting to me, and just kept my questioning on this 8-hour gap when it comes to the roommates just even more. It just made me question them even more. Unless I see actual proof of stuff, I'm not going to just come out here and tell y'all, hey, this is what's going on and this is blah, blah, blah. No, we're not going to do that. I just know that I have these certain things that have been told to me that I have waded through, and I have kept the ones in my brain that feel like they could be actually real and not just made up off of some sort of conspiracy, And where these things are coming from, I can completely understand the reason why the families aren't trusting the investigation, especially with one of the details. Because it does make it seem as if the police are having people maybe change some things up, keep some things quiet. But I mean, the police have been pretty dishonest this entire time, in my opinion. I mean, they couldn't give us the right car information. They didn't care that they got the time that the girls came home right. The family had to correct that. And never mind the fact that up until he was arrested, we were told that Dylan and Bethany didn't see, hear anything. They were basically asleep the whole time and missed the whole event. And then come the PCA, we find out that entire narrative is nothing but a lie. And I know that people were like, oh, it's to protect the victims because he was still out there. The person was still out there. Okay, well, they were sure blasting those memorial tattoos all over the place. Protect what victims? The world already knew who the survivors were because of how widespread this case went. Everyone knew their names within a few days. I mean, come on. Protect what? Protect who? Letting everyone know that this is someone that witnessed this that needs to be highly protected and putting the cops around them? would have been a hell of a lot better and less chaotic and less, dumpster fire starting, than keeping them all a secret and trying to lie to us about what actually happened in that house per their own story. Because not only were the girls apparently asleep and didn't see anything in the very beginning, and all that changed in the PCA, but then also the timeline is based off of the roommates' freaking phones, you guys. It's not based off of the car leaving the neighborhood at high speeds at 420. It's based off of something that happens on the two survivors' phones that goes 5 minutes past that to 425. We were literally lied to about the roommates the entire time, and then they want to wonder why we have questions and why we're acting like this. It's pretty freaking obvious. You did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. And again, that's just my opinion about the way this should have been handled. And only the truth, and nothing but the truth, is going to fix this. The problem is that it seems like people are scared of the truth. And I gathered that before, but I gathered that even more from the interview that we went over that Steve did with Brian Itten the other day. Oh well, guys. So what if some stuff comes out that people are uncomfortable with? If the right guy gets put behind bars and justice is served for these lives that were taken, so what? There's a lot of explaining that's going to have to be done in that courtroom. And the only way that the true truth is going to be out there is from cameras. And I know that people are like, oh, there's going to be a transcript. Okay, well, words can be skipped, sentences can be skipped, and if it's not in the transcript and it's not recorded, then it didn't happen. Okay? And well, yes, I know that I said I would be okay with audio only, and I would be okay with audio only, but audio can also be manipulated a lot easier than watching the person's mouth move as you're hearing the words via video camera. There's way too many explanations that have to be given for way too many things. Now, the little documentary thing comes out tomorrow, but this article here is basically a preview of what that's going to be tomorrow. Old information, maybe some new details, and even possibly still some things that still haven't been proven yet when it comes to the connection between Brian and the victims. Because we've been told in the courtroom by the defense, no connection. The state has not contradicted that. They've not combated that. They haven't come out with any proof of that. Legally, not legally, but like in the courtroom on record, they haven't came out and tried to retort that statement from the defense. And I know that in this article it's claiming connection. But we're going to talk more about that on Saturday after I watch whatever 48 Hours is going to be putting out. That is it for now, you guys. I have to get to work. See y'all.